Chapter 61. Jesus heals a demon-possessed boy. Matthew 17:14-20, Mark 9:14-29, and Luke 9:37-43. Chapter Overview. Strong faith needed to heal a demon-possessed boy. When Jesus, Peter, James, and John descend from the mountain, they meet a large crowd. Something is wrong. Scribes are gathered around the disciples, arguing with them. The people are quite surprised to see Jesus, and they run to greet him. "What are you arguing about with them?" he asks. Mark 9:16. A man from the crowd kneels before Jesus and explains, "Teacher, I brought my son to you because he has a speechless spirit. Wherever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground, and he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth and loses his strength. I asked your disciples to expel it, but they were not able to do so." Mark 9:17 and 18. Apparently, the scribes are criticizing the disciples because of their failure to heal the boy, perhaps ridiculing their efforts. So instead of replying to the distraught father, Jesus addresses the crowd, saying, "O faithless and twisted generation, how long must I continue with you? How long must I put up with you?" These strong words certainly apply to the scribes, who have been making trouble for his disciples in his absence. Turning to the distressed father, Jesus says, "Bring him here to me." Matthew 17:17. As the boy approaches Jesus, the demon that possesses him knocks him to the ground and throws him into a violent convulsion. The boy keeps rolling on the ground, foaming at the mouth. "How long has this been happening to him?" Jesus asks the father. He answers, "From childhood on, and often it would throw him into the fire and also into the water to destroy him." The man pleads, "If you can do anything, have pity on us and help us." Mark 9:21 and 22. The father is desperate because even Jesus' disciples have not been able to help. In response to the man's desperate appeal, Jesus gives the encouraging assurance. That expression, "if you can," why, all things are possible for the one who has faith. Immediately the father cries out, "I have faith. Help me out where I need faith." Mark 9:23 and 24. Jesus notices the crowd running toward him. With all of these looking on, Jesus rebukes the demon. "You speechless and deaf spirit, I order you, get out of him and do not enter into him again." In departing, the demon causes the boy to scream and have many convulsions. Then the boy lies there, motionless. Seeing this, many people say, "He is dead." Mark 9:25 and 26. But when Jesus takes the boy's hand, he rises and is cured from that hour. Matthew 17:18. Understandably, the people are astonished at what Jesus is doing. Earlier, when Jesus sent the disciples forth to preach, they were able to expel demons. So now, privately, in a house, they ask him, "Why could we not expel it?" Jesus explains that it was because of their lack of faith, saying, "This kind can come out only by prayer." Mark 9:28 and 29. Strong faith, along with prayer for God's empowering help, was needed to expel the powerful demon. Jesus concludes, "Truly I say to you, if you have faith the size of a mustard grain, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." Matthew 17:20. How powerful faith can be! Obstacles and difficulties that block progress in Jehovah's service may seem to be as insurmountable and irremovable as a literal mountain. Yet, if we cultivate faith, we can overcome such mountain-like obstacles and difficulties. Questions for review. What situation does Jesus find upon returning from the mountain? Why were the disciples unable to expel the demon from the boy? How powerful can our faith become? Chapter 62. An important lesson in humility. Matthew 17:22 through 18:5, Mark 9:30 through 37, and Luke 9:43 through 48. Chapter Overview. Jesus again foretells his death. He pays tax with coin from fish's mouth. Who is to be greatest in the kingdom? After the transfiguration and the healing of a demon-possessed boy in the region of Caesarea Philippi, Jesus heads toward Capernaum. He travels privately, just with his disciples, so that the crowds do not get to know about it. Mark 9:30. This gives him further opportunity to prepare his disciples for his death and for the work they will then do. The Son of Man is going to be betrayed into men's hands, he explains, and they will kill him, and on the third day he will be raised up. Matthew 17:22 and 23. That idea should not strike his disciples as new. Jesus spoke earlier about his being killed, though Peter refused to believe that this would happen. And 3 apostles saw the transfiguration and heard the discussion about Jesus' departure. His followers now become very much grieved over what Jesus is saying, even though they do not understand the full impact of his words. Matthew 17:23. Still, they are afraid to question him further about it. In time, they come into Capernaum, Jesus' base of activity, and the hometown of a number of the apostles. There, men who collect the temple tax approach Peter. Perhaps attempting to accuse Jesus of failing to pay taxes, they ask, "Does your teacher not pay the 2 drachmas temple tax?" Matthew 17:24. "Yes," Peter replies. Back at the house, Jesus is already aware of what has occurred. So rather than wait for Peter to bring the matter up, Jesus asks, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth receive duties or head tax? From their sons or from the strangers?" Peter answers, "From the strangers." Thereupon Jesus observes, "Really then the sons are tax-free." Matthew 17:25 and 26. Jesus' Father is the King of the universe and the one who is worshipped at the temple. Hence, God's Son is not legally required to pay the temple tax. But that we do not cause them to stumble, Jesus says, "Go to the sea, cast a fish hook, and take the first fish that comes up. And when you open its mouth, you will find a silver coin, a stater or tetradrachma. Take that and give it to them for me and you." Matthew 17:27. Soon the disciples are together, and they have a question for Jesus about who would be greatest in the kingdom. These same men were recently afraid to question Jesus about his coming death, yet now they are not afraid to approach him about their future. Jesus knows what they are thinking. It is something they had already been arguing about as they trailed behind him on their trip back to Capernaum. So he asks, "What were you arguing about on the road?" Mark 9:33. Embarrassed, the disciples keep silent, because they were arguing among themselves about who is greatest. Finally, the apostles present to Jesus the question that they have been discussing. Who really is greatest in the kingdom of the heavens? Matthew 18:1. It seems incredible that the disciples would have such an argument after nearly 3 years of observing and hearing Jesus. However, they are imperfect, and they have grown up in a religious climate where position and rank are stressed. Moreover, Peter had recently heard Jesus promise him certain keys of the kingdom. Might he thus feel superior? James and John may feel similarly, having been eyewitnesses of Jesus' transfiguration. Whatever the case, Jesus acts to correct their attitude. He calls a child, stands him in their midst, and tells the disciples, "Unless you turn around and become as young children, you will by no means enter into the kingdom of the heavens. Therefore, whoever will humble himself like this young child is the one who is the greatest in the kingdom of the heavens. And whoever receives one such young child on the basis of my name receives me also. Matthew 18, 3-5. What a marvelous method of teaching! Jesus does not become angry with his disciples and call them greedy or ambitious. Rather, he uses an object lesson. Young children do not have high status or prominence at all. Jesus thus shows that his disciples need to develop this view of themselves. Then Jesus concludes the lesson for his followers, saying, "The one who conducts himself as a lesser one among all of you is the one who is great." Luke 9:48. Questions for review. On returning to Capernaum, Jesus repeats what important fact, and how do his disciples receive this? Why is Jesus not under obligation to pay the temple tax, but why does he do so? What might contribute to the disciples' concern about position, and how does Jesus correct them? Chapter 63. Jesus offers counsel about stumbling and sin. Matthew 18, 6-20, Mark 9, 38-50, and Luke 9, 49 and 50. Chapter Overview. Counsel about stumbling. If a brother commits a sin. Jesus has just illustrated the attitude that his followers should have. They should view themselves as children, lowly and without status. The disciples should receive such young children on the basis of his name, and thus receive Jesus also. The apostles had recently been arguing over who is the greatest, so they may take Jesus' words as a reproof. Now the Apostle John brings up something else that has just happened. "We saw someone expelling demons by using your name, and we tried to prevent him, because he is not following with us." Luke 9:49. Does John view the apostles as the only ones who are authorized to heal others or to expel demons? If so, how is it that this Jewish man is successful in casting out wicked spirits? John seems to feel that the man should not be performing powerful works because he is not accompanying Jesus and the apostles. To John's surprise, Jesus says, "Do not try to prevent him, for there is no one who will do a powerful work on the basis of my name who will quickly be able to say anything bad about me. For whoever is not against us is for us. And whoever gives you a cup of water to drink because you belong to Christ, I tell you truly, he will by no means lose his reward." Mark 9:39-41. No, at this time, the man does not need to accompany Christ in order to be on Jesus' side. The Christian congregation is yet to be formed, so the fact that the man is not traveling with Jesus does not mean that he is an opposer or promoting a false religion. The man obviously has faith in Jesus' name, and what Jesus says indicates that the man will not lose his reward. On the other hand, it would be serious if the man was stumbled by the words and actions of the apostles. Jesus observes, "Whoever stumbles one of these little ones who have faith, it would be better for him if a millstone that is turned by a donkey were put around his neck and he were pitched into the sea." Mark 9:42. Jesus then says that his followers should remove even something as precious as a hand, a foot, or...
Hey guys, it's Brent. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like this video.